By now, I'm sure most viewers of Laughing at Liberals are familiar with Kate Molina. She was one of the deputy district attorneys who apparently thinks that it's A-OK for a mob of thugs to attack someone on the street, and she prosecuted me for not wanting to be the victim of a mob assault. Let's go back to the afternoon of July 8th, 2016. This was the day after multi-time convicted federal felon Ben Carenza led the mob to attack me, forcing me to draw my Glock as a last resort to stop his 400-pound body from crushing me. I showed up for my arraignment on the afternoon of July 8th. At that point, the Portland police, who were nowhere to be seen during the large protest on the streets and went out of their way to protect and defend Carenza and the others after they instigated all of the violence towards me, had only charged me with 2 misdemeanors of disorderly conduct and menacing. At the arraignment, the aforementioned Kate Molina decides she's going to now charge me with felonies of unlawful use of a weapon and also pull out a false police report from the prior month to justify tossing me in jail and raising my bail to $250,000. Let's listen in to her sworn words as she flat out lies to Judge Leslie Bottomley.
The additional information that was in the motion to increase bail was that I've had a chance to review other reports. One specifically addressed an incident on June 12th of this year where attendees were going to a candlelight vigil in honor of the victims of the Orlando nightclub shooting, and that Mr. Strickland was present and was disrupting the vigil by taking videotape of the the attendees who were there. When one of the attendees asked Mr. Strickland to leave, there was some sort of exchange, I believe, and within a day or so, that attendee started receiving numerous phone calls and text messages on a daily basis that were of a threatening and race-based nature. And based on that attendee's information about Mr. Strickland, who he believes identifies himself as a white nationalist anarchist, believed that Mr. Strickland was behind in orchestrating those threatening text messages and phone calls. So based on that prior conduct that the state is aware of, based on reports reviewed, as well as the nature of the current offense, given the reason for the protest last night, the state has serious concerns about Mr. Strickland being out in the community without supervision at this time. So the state is asking that he be taken back into custody, that bail be increased to $250,000. I'm also asking for a release decision of PRS evaluation only and a condition of no weapons, no ammunition, and strict compliance.
Now, I had no idea this report even existed until she brought it up that day. I was never contacted, never informed about it, never asked for my side of things. It was filed by one John Barnett Slaughter a few weeks prior. The only interaction that I can recall ever having with Mr. Slaughter is when he, along with Micah Fletcher, Taryn Yum, Penny Okamoto, and others decided they were going to get in my face and harass me at the event for the victims of the Orlando nightclub shooting. Here's a copy of this police report that she's citing. Slaughter is claiming that I was sending him threatening text and voice messages, and also claiming that I drove by his house with my hand in the shape of a gun pointing towards him, and that I am some sort of white nationalist anarchist. Now, anarchism and nationalism are two conflicting ideologies, so I don't know how one could be both, but these allegations are, of course, false. I barely know who John Slaughter is, and I don't know how big one's ego has to be to think that I would give that much of a crap about who he is to go to such lengths. I am a news videographer and reporter. I don't go around harassing and threatening people. In fact, on the evening that he is claiming that I drove by his house, I was at home caring for not one, but 2 cats that needed medical attention. One who had suffered a stroke just 2 weeks prior and was regaining his motor control, and the other was the neighborhood stray cat who had hurt his arm and needed to be kept inside all week while he healed up. Do you have any idea how hard it is to keep an outdoor stray cat inside while he recovers from an injury? I left my place as little as possible that week. I have attempted to reach out to Mr. Slaughter to smooth out any issues he may have with me, as I prefer to reconcile things in an amicable fashion, and I think he and I would have more in common than indifference. He has not responded to me, but the invitation still stands. Fortunately, the officer who took the report, who's Asian, by the way, allowed me to submit my version of what didn't happen regarding Slaughter's allegations. So anyone looking up that report now will see my statements, which are consistent with what I've said in this video. So to sum this up, a false police report that you don't even know exists can be used against you in court on a case regarding an entirely separate matter, with no jury, no defense, no trial, based solely off of vague accusations and hearsay with no evidence to support it. That's a very scary revelation. But we're not done with Molina and Slaughter just yet. Stay tuned to The Wrath for more on these characters and others.